Welcome. It's a brand new Tuesday morning here on Breakfast Central. We're delighted that you're starting your day and your week with us. It's still early in the week. By tomorrow, it will be midweek. Like Joe likes to say, it's hump day. But you're welcome to the show. For the next 3 hours, we'll be exploring happenings around the country in the political space. And some very key political figures will be joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. I am Olive MOD, and you're welcome to the show.
And I'm Bora. Welcome to a brand new Tuesday morning, reaching you live from the Center of Aquatic Splendor, also known as the Center of Excellence, Lagos, Nigeria, Nigeria's commercial capital. Yes, and we have a lot in store for you today. Insightful discussions, like Olive said. We'll be talking to some political figures, and we'll be looking at the state of the nation in different aspects. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to the program.
Absolutely. And I'm Joe Hansen, as usual, always standing on existing protocols without shaking or without scattering the table. But today, we're going to break the table on some very interesting conversations and would like you to be part of it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to open the phone lines at 8 a.m. Okay, during the 8 o'clock hour, where you can join us, and every single time you can also share your own thoughts on what you think about the latest stories that's coming from the news and current affairs of Nigeria. But right before then, as usual, I'm going to ask my colleagues what they think about what's been happening recently, especially.
First of all,
why is such a violent intro? Shattering, breaking, tables. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed?
Both of us had very challenging nights in our houses because of electricity.
I did not sleep well.
So we both did not come to work.
But you guys are on the island.
That's why we are quickly
on the island now.
On the island.
Yeah, I mean, being on the island doesn't mean that,
Center of Aquatic Excellence.
Yeah. And it's not there.
I say, wow, you should have people added the Koni Baja inside.
I mean, Ikeja is the capital. Well, I'm in London of Lagos, so I'm in the capital.
Oh, it's a capital.
Yeah, it's a capital.
I like that. You know, at some point they used to compare
actually,
Lagos.
like Ikeja is actually the capital of Lagos.
Of course.
Wow.
Of course.
Not so hard to believe. I thought it was Lekki Phase 1.
But then again, remember that it was Yaba. That was the former, the Federal Capital Territory. You had Yaba way back in yesteryears. And that's why you still have those names and those streets still bearing the names of, the popular personalities, of course, that also shaped Nigeria. But then again, you move to Ikeja, where you have it's not far off from here, Alausa headquarters, and so on and so forth. But what we're discussing right now is the key fact that today is Tuesday. It's the half of the year already. I don't know if you guys think about this, but if we look at it carefully, next year, just 6 months or 5 months, election season has started.
I think election season has already started.
We don't need to wait.
We'll be getting closer. Penultimate year too.
Yeah, it started unofficially because the campaigns have started happening. The political alignments have been happening. The campaign, cross-carpeting, people are shifting loyalties. So I think we're already in election season. We're just waiting for the official announcement. Unofficially, it's already been election season here in Nigeria. But yes, it's very interesting to see how time flies.
Yeah.
Just a few seconds ago, we're here wishing you Happy New Year and thanking you for starting the new year with us. And here we are in the 6 months of the year. And there are two categories of people. The first set that would think, wow, it's been such a great year for me. All the things I set out to achieve, I've been able to achieve them. And the other camp that I looked and say, wow, I set out to achieve 10 things this year. I've not even achieved one. Whichever camp you are alive. So there's hope.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Don't kill yourself. Just take it easy.
I always jokingly say, when they ask, how much have you been able to save or invest? And I say to people that the only thing you could have saved so far is your life. You have done well. You have tried. So well done.
Okay. That's good. Anyway, let's go into our wake-up conversations this morning. And our very first story has got to do with the news that saw the FCT minister, JUSUN Wike, hold a media parley again. This should be the 4th or the 5th. I can't remember.
Media parley.
Another media parley.
Another one. Let's put it that way. And during the entire conversation, he spoke about a lot. Questions were fielded by the journalists who were seated. And I like the fact that the journalists came from different angles. I mean, they always do. This time, yesterday, I think there was this zest from the journalists, and they wanted to really get words out, and trust me, the FCT minister does not fail you.
No, he doesn't.
He will tell you how it is. But in reacting to former Rivers State Governor's statement, where he had talked about, the FCT minister talked about the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and telling that he wouldn't vote for him. That is former Governor Rotimi Amechi.
Yes.
Wike went ahead to say that Rotimi Amechi is hungry for power and not food.
And this is also, let's bear in mind, that former Governor Rotimi Amechi was the first to draw blood. His 60th birthday. I mean, like Shegun Showomi said here. Shegun Showomi said that Wike will not find your trouble. But if you look for Wike's trouble, he's ready for you. That he's always been in defense mode. So they are the ones that come for him, and then when he comes back, everybody's making, and I can understand that argument, because you know how there's some of us that have very, very pleasant mouths, that we don't look for trouble. If you tell us one, we'll now tell you 25. Is that 25 that we said? Everybody will remember. They will not remember the first one.
Such is life.
Exactly. So Rotimi Amechi celebrated his 60th birthday on Saturday. And at the celebration of his 60th birthday, of course, the talks came up. And then that's when he criticized the current administration and talked about how people are hungry. There is hunger in the land. That's why the FCT minister responded by saying, Rotimi Amechi is not hungry. He's hungry for power and not food. Now, recall, I mean, the explanation to this would be, of course, Rotimi Amechi talking about his allegiance to the coalition and talking about how they're going to work together to unseat the current administration. But let's take a look at former Governor Rotimi Amechi.
It is when it comes to election, they will tell you, so let them show you in Islam, where it says, don't say with a Christian. They cannot show you. They will only do that and say, this man is a Muslim, go for him. Now you have Muslim ticket. Let Muslim market come out now. It can't. We are all hungry. All of us are. If you're not hungry, I am. You may laugh. So for us, the position, if you want us to remove the man in power, we can remove him from this power.
So you see why they say he's hungry for power. That it's not about food. Because they say if you want us to remove this man from power, we will remove him from power. The coalition, the church of the coalition, I think gained a lot more strength at Rotimi Amechi's 60th birthday celebration with the likes of His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, El-Rufai, all of them speaking about the coalition and the possibility of them coming together to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And, like I said yesterday, the speculations of Rotimi Amechi and Atiku running together have started to flood social media.
I mean, it's reminiscent to 2015. Anyone but Jonathan, but Nigerians are smarter and we're more experienced in our
Are you sure? Because it looks like we're about to do the same
they're
thing.
smarter.
It's not like anyone wants.
Let me break it down for you. The APC, in the last 2 years, you won't say they haven't done anything. And in the next 2 years, they will do more. They will have a few things to campaign on. And they also have campaign funds. They will go around, try to convince people. And there are people that are die-hard loyalists. They will never see any wrong in this government. And those people are in their millions. And the same thing with the opposition. They have people that would never see anything right in this government. And they're also in their millions. So it's left to the politicians how much you can politic, how much you can convince the electorate. And there's also a new generation that are smart and undecided and politically savvy, and know that opposition will just talk down on the current government for the sake of it. And there will be more scrutiny, I hope. I mean,
I like that hope that you added.
I hope.
I really like the hope.
That's what's going to happen. But I mean, it's really hard to defeat an incumbent in Nigeria. It's only happened once in our current democratic experience.
Anyway, the FCT minister said, Amechi, he said, when Amechi said he's hungry for power, it begs the question that he was highlighting the fact
that Amechi said he's hungry.
He's hungry. That he is not hungry. That he's hungry for power, rather. That he's not hungry, like he rightly said. And several questions came up from Nigerians that I think you also highlighted that yesterday. That, but you were also in power now during the past, few years and so on. So why are you coming out now to talk? Why didn't you possibly resign back then, maybe in your second year, and say I'm no longer doing or something? So it's a mixed reaction. But then again, The FCT minister also spoke to Bode George, the PDP
Do we
chieftain,
have more clips?
and so on. I'm sure we should have more clips
from the
because I mean it was live here as well on News Centrals during the Judiciary period. But let's see. I don't know if we have more clips.
Yes, we certainly have more clips of the
take a
FCT
look.
minister speaking.
I don't know how a man will choose his 60th birthday to tell lies. It's unfortunate. Of all time, it's your 60th birthday that people are celebrating you. You used to tell lies to Nigerians. You are hungry. Let us tell ourselves this. He was speaker 1999 to 2007. And if anybody knows, he was the most pampered speaker. Then he was reading law in London as a speaker 1999 to 2007. He became a governor 2007 to 2015. He was still reading law. How do you look at it? How do you insult Nigerians? How do you trivialize the issue of hunger or poverty? Why do you do that? You're insulting Nigerians. You joined Atiku. You joined Alpha because you are hungry.
Okay.
Media chat.
You know it's politics, so it's their bread and butter.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there have been accusations about Nyesom Wike's role in the People's Democratic Party, that those who believe that he's there as a... In fact, somebody called him the president's hatchman, that he's there to Hatchetman, thank you. That he's there to carry out the biddings of the president and to ensure that he dismantles the opposition. But then again, the opposition is another conversation. Do we really have what is considered a viable opposition?
United
and in this case,
opposition.
The PDP... What would have seemed like the opposition would have been the PDP first, the Labour Party, NNPP. Again, individually, can these parties stand as what an opposition, or stand for what an opposition truly stands for? There are those who would say that His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has constantly criticized a number of the policies of the current administration, and that is what opposition is. And you know, the argument as to what is a formidable opposition is still an argument that we haven't been able to.
I still stand to see. So the story now has moved from the SDP being the beautiful bride of which everybody wants to, get married to politically. But now there's a new story that they're about to find a new bride, completely different. It seems that former Governor Rotimi Amici, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and others are now looking at. We're not looking at
starting up or forming
a fresh new political party. And the rumors also have it that they had invited Mr. Peter Gregory Obi to ensure he joins the party. But there's one thing that was not mentioned amidst all this conversation, and that's the underlying fact. The fact simply is this: if you have four political juggernauts gather together to form a political party and call it an opposition party, who is going to be the flag bearer? Who's going to, because amongst themselves, you're going to say they would have a primary. I mean, it's a new party. You shouldn't even think about having primaries.
To be honest, we don't even know if they're really going to do a new party.
Exactly. It's
These people, I feel like they're just trying to take us by surprise. Every day is speculations about what will happen and what won't happen. We're not really sure what will happen. Tomorrow they can decide to unite under the front of... I know for certain that whatever they're doing, I do not think that His Excellency Peter Obi will be willing to unite with the People's Democratic Party, because he can see the outrage by the
or play second fiddle to
and I don't think that, that he's going to be open to that. But we're not sure what these politicians will do. At the end of the day, politics is like football. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
The ruling party will be very happy, though, in the sense that, opposition is fractured.
Party told me?
The ruling party,
the ruling party,
APC. They'll be quite excited.
I mean, they've spoken now. They've spoken.
They don't have a united front. You have this individual gladiators with big egos. It will be hard for anyone to step down. And when you have two of them contesting, you've broken down the votes. So it makes life easy for them. These are some of the permutations we'll be looking at. But how many of them will be selfless to say, look, I sacrifice my personal ambition for the greater good of the country. I think I am the best. Or which one of those will throw their weight behind a younger candidate and say, or saying, look, let's get a neutral, like the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, for example.
Seyi Makinde is going in.
Yes, and
he's going in.
Throw our weight behind him until something like that.
I remember it was Seyi Makinde and Governor Peter Mbah that caused Wike FCT minister to pull out and say no more agreement, because of course Seyi Makinde has said that he's going in for the presidential race.
So I don't think it's much about the presidential race as opposed to, I mean, there are other
party
issues. There's party discipline. There are certain agreements. So first of all, national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, is it Samanyahu? Is it I forgot the name of the other person. So there's that disagreement. They're pulling out from what they agreed with His Excellency, former Governor Nyesom Wike. And again, he emphasized the fact that, in fact, part of the things he said, when people are saying that he should leave the PDP, that who are the people that are asking him to leave the PDP, that what is their contribution to the People's Democratic Party? He said he's a valuable asset, that he's not a liability. And it's the confidence. He knows himself.
Okay,
he understands.
He knows from asset to liability.
He said it's not a liability, he's an asset. And he said that, for example, that he's a valuable asset to the returning of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. He then went further to say that those people who are saying that he should be removed, they should come and show their contribution to the People's Democratic Party. That he doesn't know what their contribution to the People's Democratic Party is, that is more than the contribution that he made. He's speaking with a lot of confidence, and it seems like he has facts to back it up. Another grouse he has, of course, is their agreement to support a sovereign governor at the last elections, and then they went back on that. And he said, even with the way the governors are leaving and the way the People's Democratic Party is handling it, he said, for example, Delta left. People said, let them go. Akwa Ibom left. Let them go. That he wouldn't do that. That the better thing for the People's Democratic Party to have done would be to send a delegate, to send a team to go and ask these governors, why are you leaving? What happened? Let's have a conversation, beg them to stay, convince them of what they can do differently. That is the culture of impunity, and at the end of the day, the problem with the People's Democratic Party will be the leadership style. So,
anyway,
so many things have been said.
Hasn't left officially.
He has left.
His spirit has left, but his body
He has left. He has left. He has left. Let's just leave it at
spirit in PDP, body in APC.
Equity sees that which ought to be done as done. Because if you are already giving...
Please, can you give me a Latin maxim to back up that thing you just said?
I'll think about it at the end of the show.
Nemo
dat quod non habet.
He doesn't understand.
Nemo dat quod non habet means...
He doesn't understand my legal luminary.
Nemo dat quod non habet. You can't...
He who comes to equity must come with...
No. Nemo dat quod non habet. I think you cannot be a... That's all the author party. You cannot be a judge in your own court.
Olive, don't worry.
It's okay, Olive, it's okay. This is where you practice.
Exactly.
It's
this
fine.
is your daily bread.
Let's move to our next story. Away from all the...
now. Is it this coffee or my lack of sleep?
Away from all the drama,
okay.
Let's take you to the north, far north. Let's go to Kano State this time, where the Kano State governor has declared a 10-day long holiday.
Can we extend that to Lagos?
To mark the Eid-El-Kabir break for schools. Now, this is coming on the heels of a recent stretch of holiday for the children, which, where he faced a lot of backlash for doing that.
But the question is backlash from who?
Backlash from Nigerians.
Yes, but he's getting a lot of support as well.
Yeah, not the
because
north.
He's using it to score cheap political.
Although I did see a few tweets from people from the north who said, no, this is too much.
Exactly.
We are here talking about helping, the Almajiri system and so on and so forth, and helping these children to learn more, go to school and so on and so forth. But here you are declaring 11 days again. But it seems like governor doesn't care, he doesn't mind. He said 11 days. So I mean, that's what it is.
Stories like this, it reminds you or reminds us as a people of the weight and attention and the priority that we place on education. In a country that has millions of children out of school, over 20 million children out of school. I remember when we started talking of out of school children, from 1 minute we were talking about 10 million. Before you know it jumped to 13 million. Now we're looking at over 20 million out of school children. Every day we're faced with insecurity challenges. Just, I think 2 weeks ago, we had the package here of the River State students who were going to write WAEC and then got kidnapped. And when they came back, our correspondent, Biola Festus, interviewed the mother of one of them and asked, will you be sending your child back to school? She said she doesn't know. Let her child just come back to her. So we have a number of issues that are already bedeviling our education sector, such as insecurity, where parents don't know if their kids will go to school and come back. Now, insecurity is not even the challenge here. We're then keeping them out of school. And nobody is saying that we should not celebrate Eid-El-Kabir. I think it's very important. We uphold the tenets and the values of every religion. When it's a Christian holiday, let's take the holiday. When it's a Muslim holiday, let's take the holiday. But 10 days. 10 days is too much.
It's
not
too much.
Even midterm break is not 10 days.
You know,
my
grouse with this holiday is Nigerians don't even, we don't have data on, there's a song called Time Na Money, on the amount of man hours we lose in traffic and in unproductive activities. There are banks there. There's the entire economy of Kano State will be shut down
for 10 days.
For 10
Almost
days.
2 weeks.
No, that's 2 weeks if you count the weekdays.
Roughly 5. That's Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday. That's 10.
I mean, who does that? There's no natural disaster. You just feel, people should. It's not enjoyment. They're unproductive. I mean, that's the height of irresponsibility, and I don't mince words about it. How do you shut down your state's economy for 10 days?
11 days.
For 11 days, because you're celebrating a festival. Even where this festival emanated from, the origins of Eid-El-Kabir is in Saudi Arabia. They don't shut down their economy for 11 days. It's just, I find it very ridiculous, and it's an insult.
Yeah.
The banks will be closed for,
let's
weeks.
hope. One thing I just want to say is, let's hope that it doesn't affect the commercial sector. That possibly should just be for
maybe
the
government
schools.
workers.
Government workers.
But people need licenses. They need to go to the civil servants, to the secretariat to get things.
Yeah, that's another one.
They have.
Let's not say just for the schools, because even the fact that it affects the schools is a huge deal. It's bad enough.
Yeah.
Whether it doesn't affect the businesses, that's great. But the fact that it affects the schools is terrible enough. Imagine what it will take from the school curriculum for these kids to be out of school for 11 days. Imagine how much backward it will take them. In cases like elections, we even complain about how our economy shuts down just because Nigeria is doing elections.
Oh, yeah.
We complain about that. When we talk about the sit-at-home order, those in the southeastern part of Nigeria are complaining about the economic implications of sit-at-home. Then 11 days. I don't know if we see
won't you even get tired of
that we are doing to our education.
Well, maybe that's what we think here. Maybe we need to wear the shoes of the people in the north.
I don't know part of Nigeria.
And maybe
in Kano.
I think we should. Maybe this is the time to get in our correspondent to join us this today. I think it's a different ball game over there, and why I say so is because there hasn't been any strong remarks against what the governor has done. Like I said, I've just seen pocket size, a few persons who have commented and said, no, this is too much. We're trying to build the educational system, allowing the students to stay at home and so on and so forth. But don't forget, another thing that I'm looking at, I'm trying to balance it here, don't get me wrong. I'm also trying to look at it from the aspect that the governor has also mentioned that he would give his full support to promote, reading, teaching, ensuring that both the girl child, especially in the north, get the knowledge, the requisites to help them prosper and propel or grow or whatever. But I agree. Why I'm worried is because, like I rightly said earlier, he just did something similar a few months ago, and here he's repeating it again. Now, does it give a body language that whenever we have a language, whenever we have holiday, where everybody, let's just relax and enjoy ourselves.
So what it says again, I don't think there was enough outrage at the last time it happened, because this is why our country, impunity reigns supreme in Nigeria.
Okay.
Because people don't see consequences for certain actions. If the first time you do a thing, there's huge public outrage about it, maybe that will ensure that, okay, the next time you do it, there isn't as much, the next time you think of doing it, you remember the public outrage that happened the first time and you decide to step back. But then again, it's a number of things. It might be that maybe the public outrage wasn't enough, or that he actually saw the public outrage, but he doesn't care, because what can people really do?
Would go with the latter.
You go with the latter, right? Like, what can people do? At the end of the day, he's the governor. But I hope that we collectively see, because the people of Kano State are not just in the north. They're part of our country. they're a reflection of our country. The choices that are made in the north, in the south, these choices collectively affect the entity that is called Nigeria. So when accounting Nigeria's education sector and the improvements and challenges, nobody's going to say, oh, Nigeria's education sector except Kano State. These things are the things that pull us back for a nation that talks that unfortunately negatively boasts about having one of the highest rates of out-of-school children.
You know,
it's really sad.
You know, you were talking and for a split second I had goosebumps. And why I had goosebumps was while you were saying that, it kind of like reminded me when you said it's not just from the north. It reminded me of growing up. I used to have an uncle who, I mean, he was in the military, and sometimes he would go to the north and come back. He always did something. He would always read. You know, he spoke Hausa too and so on. But I recall how within him, and when they had conversations with other people and people within the area, there was always this penchant for education. Back then, when you gather with people, you watch them. It was as if it was a competition. Like, oh, have you been to University of this, University of Jos? Have you been there? Everybody was talking. But it's sad that we've come this low where education is just seen as
the only thing that excites young people.
The only thing that excites,
music,
I mean, Yahoo and all those things. So truly, our value system has dropped. And I agree with what we've said here. Like I said, although we're trying to balance it, but we can't really balance until we speak with some persons there. Hopefully our reporter
But I'm
joins
sure
us, because
most people in the organized private sector, you think if I have a company in Kano, I would let my staff stay at home for. They will observe the federal government's holidays and you get back to work.
Well, let's
Kano
flip the
State
script.
Government can give its own civil servants 2 weeks, that's fine.
But my private sector, that I'm paying them salary, that their salary is dependent on the profit that I make.
Script. What if Lagos State Governor says, Lagosians, go and rest for 10 days?
You cannot
He can't
Lagos
will lose money.
Nobody will even.
Lagos will actually lose money.
Exactly.
They can't do it.
Lagos will lose,
It's
period.
economic suicide.
It's like
Exactly.
America, the broad streets. The broad streets goes on bank holidays. They tell you how much they've lost.
You know how they even complain?
You know, during that period.
Nigerians in the diaspora oftentimes say that, people don't know what they're enjoying. People have too many bank holidays in Nigeria. In the West, you don't see as many holidays as we have in Nigeria. It's like we need every opportunity for a holiday. You see, there's this Eid holiday, there's that Easter holiday, there's this Salah holiday, there's this, the only holidays you would see them celebrate in the West would be, apart from Christmas holiday, it would then be maybe like their independence, maybe July 4th. But you always see that they are doing different.
You know, when I was in university, I enjoyed
Martin Luther King,
Malaysia. It's a multicultural society, so the Muslims will celebrate the Indians and, of course, the Chinese. So you have multiple holidays. So
anyway, for us, we need to weigh the cost. Like Joe said, we don't really have data. We need to weigh the cost of these holidays and the implication it's having on our economy. For me, I also I don't mind holiday. But the thing is, even when there's holiday, it don't really concern us because if you will watch TV, so we will come to work.
And just to announce officially, the federal government has declared this Friday, the 6th, and Monday,
the 9th,
as official public holidays.
But guess who's not going to get a holiday?
Who?
You, and me.
That's the life we chose.
That's the reality. It's the life we chose. Yeah, and we love it.
I mean,
it's the sacrifice.
I mean, the streets keep urging you to do more now.
In the world of Files the Bad Guy, this is the life I chose. I could have been in chamber.
Yeah, that's right.
No regrets.
Let's leave the Gen Z feel and vibe. Let's move now to another story. Warning again. This warning is coming from the United States General. This time, let me just run through. The commander of the United States Africa Command, General Michael Langley, remember him?
Yes.
The same guy
of the Ibrahim Traore fame.
Exactly, who was saying, Traore, why is he doing, come on, he's using the gold for himself, he's doing this, we need to go in. And the whole Africa said, Oga, Pipe, is it your country?
Exactly.
Why is it your business? Your gold? Anyway, he's back again, that's him on the screen now. He has raised alarm over growing efforts by extremist groups and terrorists in the Sahel to gain access to West Africa's coastline. Describing recent attacks in Nigeria, the wider Sahel, and the Lake Chad Basin as deeply troubling, Langley warned that terrorist access to the coast would significantly boost their capacity for smuggling and arms trafficking. Now, according to the 2025 Global Terrorism Index published by the Institute of Economics for Peace, and Sahel accounted for 19% of all terrorist attacks worldwide and 51% of global terrorism-related deaths in 2024, up from 48% in 2023. just to wrap this thing up very quickly, Langley said during a press conference over the weekend that the U.S. was increasingly concerned that a coastal incursion would not only endanger African nations, but also raise the threat level to American interests. Take note. So I'm going to highlight that. It will also raise the threat level to American interests.
Everything they do is about American interests, and I wonder why we even have the U.S. Africa Command.
So on
our continent, if we're talking about sovereignty and nationality and independence and all of that. Look, the French were in the Sahel, Operation Berkane, Operation Serval, and they couldn't stop terrorism with all their weaponry and sophistication, and the largest United Nations mission in the world, United Nations Stabilization Mission in the Congo, MONUSCO, billions spent in the Congo, they couldn't do that. So I wonder, I understand this message and this concerns, but this problem started when they invaded Libya in 2011. The entire region is awash with weapons and small arms that, as a result of the blowback from invading Libya, and not planning for the next day. So it's okay for him to say these things. I believe African countries should be united and come together to deal with these problems, because the Sahel is just, right next door. And if you don't tackle the growing threat of terrorism in Mali, Burkina Faso, and some of the Sahelian countries, it will trickle down to coastal regions. And we've started seeing, limited attacks in places like Togo, in Benin,
that weren't there before.
Ghana, that we never used to hear of in the past, in northern Ghana, northern Benin, and Togo.
I agree with you. For me, I always think that this is where I see where the African Union is weak. Because if the African Union was really strong, this is where you galvanize for a united front. And I keep asking sometimes, what stops Africa from forming its own force? If everybody, I remember, we can't go back to the times of ECOMOG and so on, but then again, if Africa decides to say, okay, remember what ECOWAS did, where it had its own military, of course, Nigeria was very strong back then, but if the African Union, of which many have said they've lost their strength or their ability to unite the African countries, but if they're able to have their own front, where you have the military and decide to take these countries, everybody contribute and so on and so on.
They actually do on paper.
It's not as strong,
standby force, but nobody contributes.
That's it.
Finances, troops, it's just there.
And then you now have countries that have pulled out and have told you, listen, we're no longer interested, we don't care. So I think that there's disunity within the African security system, whether we like it or not. We still talk about the issues in Rwanda, and of course, remember what happens within the borders of Congo, DR Congo. That is a different case with the rebel forces. But then again, if we look at it on a broader spectrum, I agree with him, but it's not, in other words, it's not just about the interests of the Americans. That's where I have a problem with that statement. It should be about the interest of Africans.
So he's saying that it's not just going to affect Africans, but it will also affect Americans. It's interesting that this was, talked about when he was addressing defense chiefs in Kenya, here on the African continent. And part of what he's blamed this on is the fact that American troops have had to pull out of certain African countries, whether they're working with the countries that, are there, that they have borders. They're working with their partners like Benin, I think Cote d'Ivoire, a number of them to fight, and that they're working with us to fight Boko Haram. But like you said, it would always be, many people oftentimes suspect whenever the United States raise certain alarms, because it's just like, okay, what's your interest in this, right? But like Joe said, I think at the end of the day, we must reflect as a continent. We must reflect on ways in which we can work together against the challenges that we have. Let's look inwards. Every time we're talking about, help from the West, this one, that, it would be great for us to get to the point. And there were people who had tried to push for that. There were African leaders who had tried to push for the unification of the continent. Unfortunately, they were not.
Same America didn't like it, and they were
people like your mentor,
looking like declassified documents. People like Thomas Sankara, Silvano Solencio, Patrice Lumumba were assassinated.
Unfortunately, so I hope that points us to the fact that we need to be united as a continent. We have the same common challenges bedeviling the nations of the continent. Insecurity, Boko Haram is not just disturbing us here. We're seeing attacks, security challenges in Chad, in Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso. It's why a number of them pulled out from ECOWAS, because they felt, look, being a part of you is not helping reducing the insecurity challenges that we have, even though the arguments about that one would be that there are political undertones. But we must realize that we all have the same challenges. Yesterday, I was having this conversation with you earlier about how I'm thinking of going on holiday, and I was looking at the African countries. Again, in some cases, it's easier to go to Europe than it is to go to certain African countries. 100%. I was just informed about how a certain country, there are two options, that if I want to apply for a visa, if I want to go next month, I have to start now. Make sure you submit now, because they take a lot of time. And I'm just like, why? Or if I want to do the expedited process, I'll pay 1 million naira. I say, what?
Is it heaven?
I don't understand. Is there gold? You know, so we need to do better in terms of ensuring that we foster unity within the continent and realize that we have the same common enemies, the same common devils bedeviling us. And if we work together, we'll be able to achieve, some measure of progress.
And you wonder why the African Continental Development, free trade area, what it's called, is not kicking off.
On paper,
it's so huge. Oh, there'll be borderless movements and so on and so forth.
Of people and goods.
I hope that we'll see that in our generation, the actual implementation of a borderless continent.
Hopefully.
Okay, that's all that we have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Let's bring in now the top stories this morning on the Breakfast Central. This morning we'll be assessing President Tinubu's 2-year economic performance, looking at the state of the nation, joined by Kenneth Okonkwo, a loud voice in this regard. We'll be also explaining the power play in Delta politics and the people. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, embarks on strike. We'll be talking about the judges that have been locked out, the lawyers and the litigants in this regard. Also, the WAEC exam controversy is in focus as the House of Assembly has issued ultimatum for submission of report. We will review the newspaper front pages, and we urge you to join us when we open the phone lines. Several courts across the Federal Capital Territory were under lock and key on Monday as members of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria began an indefinite strike over unmet demands. The industrial action follows a breakdown in negotiations with the Minister of Labour and Employment. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim monitored the level of compliance across major courts in the FCT and now reports.
The industrial action, which commenced at midnight on June 1, was declared via a circular issued by the leadership of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria. At the heart of the strike are long-standing demands, including the payment of 5 months' wage awards, implementation of the 70,000 naira national minimum wage, and the 25 to 35% salary increment for judiciary workers, demands the union says remains unfulfilled. Despite the directive, some chapters of the union opted out of the strike at the last minute. At the Supreme Court and National Judicial Council, operations continued. The chapter chairman of JUSUN at the Apex Court attributed the decision to a personal sense of duty and patriotism.
You pay 300,000 naira from Lagos air ticket to come to Supreme Court. You pay accommodation only to enter Supreme Court, as they said no, you cannot be allowed in, and you are paying the same amount going back. That's irresponsible on our side, and we cannot continue to do that. Nigeria has to be good, and it starts with us. We are sure that the issue will be addressed.
However, the situation was different at other courts, from the Federal High Court to the National Industrial Court and the FCT High Court. Full compliance with the strike was observed and strictly enforced. Governor Yusuf, Vice Chairman of the FCT High Court JUSUN chapter, says the government's inaction has left workers with no alternative.
So far, we've been having this back and front. They will ask for time, and it is that time we don't have. So the only thing we can do is they push us to this level. They are aware of it, and the last meeting we had was Friday. We had another one on Saturday, even yesterday, before we came to this conclusion.
For many unsuspecting litigants and court users, the shutdown has come at a cost. Wasted time, resources, and rescheduled proceedings.
It has disorganized my program because the court, I was supposed to go to Gowalada today to file this particular document, to submit this particular document if it had been signed and sealed with their stamp. But as it is now, I can't do that. You understand? Even the court at Gowalada is also on strike.
While no resumption date has been announced, many Nigerians are hopeful that the government will intervene promptly to address the issues and restore operations in a sector often described as the last hope of the common man. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
And now Sagir Ibrahim joins us live to bring updates regarding the JUSUN strike. Good morning, Sagir. Thank you very much for that very detailed report. But let's get into the intricacies of the demands by JUSUN. So talk to us about what you witnessed yesterday, what the demands are.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Joe, and good morning, Benga. Pleasure to be on the show this morning. Well, interesting situations. Yesterday, quite a number of Nigerians and myself were at the courts. A number of them, of course, were there to, carry out their various judiciary functions, activities. There were lawyers, there were judges, there were individuals from outside who had cases in the court, who were expecting that the court was going to be open for them to carry out the business of the day. But unfortunately, they met the gates under lock and key with the banners you've been seeing all over the place. JUSUN on strike. Why is JUSUN on strike? JUSUN is on strike because they feel that the government has failed to meet with demands that they ought to have met without ordinarily asking to do so. I mean, the minimum wage, there's been a new minimum wage for quite a number of time now. How many months has it been? Initially, when the difficulty from the implementation or the removal of fuel subsidy, as the case may be, followed a wage award that was given to quite a number of civil servants cut across the federal, state, and local government. For JUSUN, they say it's between 25% to 35%, all of which, up until this moment, they are saying is yet to be implemented. They say they've been, on various occasions with the representative of the federal government, talk about the Minister of Labor and Employment, to raise these concerns. Look, we cannot continue to live like we are living at the moment. If these implementations are not done, how do we continue to do the work that we are doing as diligently as we can without any form of interference, without any form of generally breakdown of whether it's trust? Because the court as it is supposed to be the last hope of the common man. And just like the police, if you do not treat your court officials well, and I'm not saying this is the case, but you leave room open for quite a number of things that could happen, some of them are unimaginable. So they are saying, do all of this for us because we are doing this work for you. And if you don't do it for us and we do not have the capacity to do this work, then we cannot continue to do the work and continue to hear empty promises. It's going to be today, it's going to be tomorrow, give us a little time, and all of that. As you can hear from the interview, quite a number of them said it. Well, we tried. We gave them time. We sat on the table with them. We negotiated with them. And it still did not yield any positive results. And the resultant effect, of course, being left with no choice other than to go on this strike.
Has there been any words from the Nigerian Judicial Council with regards to the grouses of JUSUN? And what are they saying to avert this strike action?
That's been the interesting thing, Benga. It's been hush-hush. One would have expected that you would start to see some kind of action, from immediately the strike was declared. But I've not set eyes on any statement, be it from the National Judicial Council, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, or the Ministry of Labor, or the federal government, as the case is, to this effect. I even tried reaching out to quite a couple of members in the JUSUN themselves to know whether the strike continues. But it's hush. We can only wait to see what happens today. But as at this moment, it seems to me that the court remains closed until, any development comes up. And this makes one really concerned as to the state of the situation. There are prisoners who are in jail. There are individuals who are standing trial for various reasons, cut across various offenses. who needs to be proven either innocent or guilty, before they are sentenced or before they are discharged and acquitted. All of that cannot happen because JUSUN is on strike. Because if you go to the court, you won't even be granted access because you need lock and key at the gates. Talk less of, going there, meeting judicial officials, bailiffs of the court, and, court clerical staff who will be there to provide these services to you. So it means anything regarding the judiciary, from the magistrate court up onto the court of appeal, is on hold. It's on hold at this moment because the Supreme Court chose to opt out of the strike because they do not feel that it is responsible for them to go on strike. The apex court will be on strike at a situation where the country is. You would expect somebody to travel from outside Nigeria because he has a case at the Supreme Court that he intends to meet up with. People travel from far and wide just to be able to meet up with court appointments, and you get to the gate and you find out that the Supreme Court in this instance is locked. Think of the impression that it gives not just Nigerians but members of the diaspora who keeps a keen eye on the activities happening in and around Nigeria. So this continues to be the issue, but as at this moment, it's not been any word, and it's not till now.
Glad that you also mentioned the Supreme Court, members of the Supreme Court withdrawing from this. We're also seeing information that the members of the Federal High Court, have also withdrawn from the strike. Would you say that there is unity amongst the JUSUN members within themselves? Because I'm getting the sense, I'm not quite sure, that there are different pockets that want to go ahead with the strike and several other pockets who want out of the strike. So would you say they are providing a united front within themselves?
Oliver, I will not even look at it from that light. I will look at it from the light that some of these individuals do not feel that it is right for them. Why should the judicial arm of government be shut down? It's an arm of government. It's just like saying the executive is on strike, the presidency, from top to bottom, and every other executive individual in the executive arm of government is going on strike because, certain demands have not been met. That is what it looks like. Maybe it's because Nigerians are used to the constant strikes. ASU will go on strike, that is the Academic Staff Union. Individuals working in the power sector will go on strike. Judiciary workers will go on strike. The National Union of Teachers would also go on strike. These are just quite a number of individuals that have gone on strike over the years that Nigerians have gotten used to. Maybe this is the reason why Nigerians see it as, it's a war between Nigerians and the Nigerian government, or it's a war between Nigerian workers and the Nigerian government. However, some of these individuals feel like the judiciary is an arm of government that provides an essential service to Nigerians and to others who have a business with it. So they do not feel that it should be normal or okay for the courts to be shut. A federal high court being shut because 25 to 35% wage award has not been paid. The federal high court is shut because 70,000 naira minimum wage is not paid. This, I believe, is a huge indictment on us. And this is why some of these individuals do not want it to look like, and it's a question of patriotism from where I stand. So they do not feel like it's okay for that to happen. And this is the reason why quite a number of them are saying, okay, perhaps we should pump our brakes a little bit. Let's give them some time and see, how they react to it. Already, quite a number of courts are already shut. So work with what you have first, and if they do not act, perhaps they will be forced to take similar actions.
The Minister of Labour, Honorable Mingadi, was scheduled to meet with them. We heard that he met with them, also with members of the DSS, and it seemed like the meeting ended in a deadlock. But has there been any statement from the government? Let's put it that way, because just yesterday we did have a representative from the presidency, an essay to the presidency, talking about private companies ensuring that they implement the minimum wage of 70,000 naira. But here we are, an arm of government, an organ, a very strong one, which offers a lot of support, especially to Nigerians, is now shutting down. Can you share with us if any member of the government has indeed spoken, if at all?
So I slept very late last night just because I was looking for additional information to see whether anybody, just anyone, had reacted to the strike. But unfortunately, I didn't see. Maybe it later came and I've not set eyes on it. But as at the last time that I checked my sources to see if there's been any form of response, it has been, in the negative. And this sort of paints a very sad picture. Now, here is a hot but yet controversial take. You see, it's because it's the Nigerian government, right? But if the Nigerian government were to be a corporate entity, I dare say that it would have a very terrible human resource department in some light because of the way, it treats some of its workers. Because if this were to be a corporate organization, for instance, the issue of salary increase should not take so long to implement. There's been other issues as well, but why does Nigerian workers have to continually beg for their right? This wage award was, given by the president to say life is difficult. Use this to tarry a while we work on something that is more permanent. And then something that was a little bit more permanent in this light, the minimum wage, also came along the line. And neither got the 25 to 35% wage award, neither have they gotten the implementation of the new national minimum wage. So it seems like they are caught between, the devil and the deep blue sea, having nowhere else to go than to literally fight for themselves and gain the kind of attention they think the government would need to hear and see before they get what they want.
Yesterday, the courts, were on real life lockdown, it would seem. Did you see what the implications of this strike, have? Did you see the physical implication of this strike? Were there cases that you witnessed or have heard of that maybe needed to have been heard yesterday that unfortunately could not be attended to because of the strike?
Oh, yes, I saw a couple. So at the FCT High Court, for instance, quite a number of individuals were there. Some of them had documents to sign, others had documents to collect, some had cases that were scheduled to hold that very day. They were all turned back. Somebody came as far as Gwagwalada. It's on the outskirts of the FCT. It's around between an hour and an hour 30 minutes to the FCT High Court if you're coming by road. He just needed to get a document signed so he could return it back to another court in the Gwagwalada area council where he came from. And he came and met locked gate, and he was not allowed into the premises. He stood at the gate for a while, and then I approached him and asked him what the situation was. And he began to pour his heart out. It is disheartening. It is heartbreaking that Nigerians who ordinarily rely on these services, but yet have no control over how compensation is done to those who provide these services, continue to bear the brunt of the effect, of a lack of implementation of all of this. And it really, really brings to question the reason why, this has continued to fester, and the reason why the government needs to act fast to ensure that the right thing is done, to ensure that this implementation, I checked everywhere, I spoke with members of these unions, they had just 3 demands. They all mentioned just 3 demands: 25 to 35% wage award, implementation of the 70,000 naira minimum wage, and one other one that I can't remember right now, but it's basically 3. So why is it taking so much time to get all of this implemented so the offices are reopened? That's the question that quite a number of Nigerians are asking as they continue to bear the brunt of the strike.
Very sad situation, especially for Nigerians who may have come from a far-flung distance, like you did report. That man who was sad, and just like you've said, having come to the court and then you find it closed. It kind of like gives a negative...
Yeah, they say the judiciary is the last hope of the country, and to see all of this happening. But hopefully the authorities would address this issue with the urgency it deserves.
I imagine people who probably had bail hearings, bail applications to be heard, time-bound applications that needed to have been heard by the court yesterday, and unfortunately will not be able to access it because of this strike.
To go
and
back
just to highlight to our viewers what they're asking for: payment of 5 months arrears wage award, the implementation of 70% minimum wage, and then 25 to 35% salary increase implementation. These are the asks of JUSUN, and we will continue to follow up with that. Thank you, Sergey Ibrahim, for bringing us this update. Thank you. Again, this brings again the conversation of the real influence of separation of powers, right? Why the judiciary? Because if you look at it, the legislature does not seem to have as much financial complaints.
They're the ones that approve it.
They're the ones that approve it. And so the way they see it is like it's boiling. Again, it comes back to the conversation about the autonomy of the judiciary. What will the autonomy of the judiciary look like? What will full autonomy, shouldn't it include financial autonomy? And we should not have, the judiciary should not have to be going cap in hand to be, quote unquote, begging for money and begging for something that should be seen as the mere basics. The executive arm, the legislative arm, and the judiciary arm should be treated with equal priority. Because they, all three of them, are very important for the safety and a balanced approach to our democracy. So I do think that their calls are valid. Many people might not agree with the way in which they have expressed their displeasure, but what we're seeing in Nigeria, unfortunately, is how a number of people feel like they've been pushed to the wall. The Minister of Labour and Employment, did he have a conversation with, how has the conversation that he has had with them gone? We really don't know the details, but we hope to find out more about it.
I like the point Olive raised about those who have bail applications. There are real life implications to this. You have to go back just because there are time-bound issues. You have to go back to be remanded in prison custody as the courts are on strike. Go back to 2 portions of rice and beans.
I mean, you're right, because this is one thing we also need to look at is the fact that this is a joint union staff association. It's the judiciary staff, whereby you're talking about people who work.
It's like the university.
Exactly.
NASU
and it seems like, so it seems like the body,
workers,
is starting. My worry is, tell me now why you wouldn't have any iota of corruption within the system that is broken or that seems to have leakages. Because right now, there's a man who is a staff there. He has been working there for years. His salary has not been reviewed, and it was depending on this review. There's a man his salary has not risen up to 70%, which is the minimum wage. And then you tell me that he has connection to do something for someone or do something.
Why wouldn't he move your file?
This file, highest bidder, how much? No, if you're not paying, I'm not moving this file. We see these things are bound to happen. But my challenge now would be, fingers will be pointing to the president. Is it the president that did this one? Is it the president that did this one? The president has already given the directive, hasn't he done so? So I think the Honorable Minister needs to also speak. I'm a fan. I keep telling people that when there's crisis, it's one thing to go into a closed-door meeting, which they did on Sunday night, and it didn't work out well. They said, hey, Aluta, continua. On Monday, we are going on strike. And videos are online where they were going to different courts, and they were telling people, leave now. They were locking it. They were fixing the strike, printed banner and so on, and saying everybody leave now. They were locking. It shows that they were willing to enforce. They didn't like the sound of the music that was played on Sunday when they had that meeting with the DSS and of course the minister. So one thing that we're expecting now is hopefully they call it off. Somebody is supposed to leave prison today or ought to have left prison yesterday or incarcerated and had to leave, but we don't know. We just don't know.
Okay. We still have a lot in store for you, but first, the House of Representatives Committee on Basic Education Examination Bodies has issued a 24-hour ultimatum to the West African Examination Council to submit a detailed report on the controversial conduct of the 2025 English language examination across the country. These follow the appearance of WAEC's head in Nigeria, Amos Dagut, before the committee, where lawmakers expressed dissatisfaction with how the examination was handled. The committee also directed WAEC to submit its official examination guidelines and clarify what alternative measures are in place when faced with logistical or security challenges. Meanwhile, Amos Dagut apologized to candidates and parents, blaming the late-night conduct of the exam on logistical difficulties and an earlier paper leak. He also appealed to lawmakers to exempt certain sensitive documents from public disclosure, citing staff safety concerns.
What have happened with your agency and also the JAMB, which also oversight, deserve 2 of you to resign. I'm not here to mind words, because you have exposed Nigeria to the level that people are laughing at us.
Upon coming for such hearing, The registrar should have even submitted to us a detailed report which covers every single state on what occurred per state, given that they are interested to even know what happened.
Those in support of the motion should say aye. Aye. Those against should say nay. The aye have it. WAEC will appeal those documents within the 24 hours to this very revered committee for further legislative business.
We trace that the particular paper in question, we trace where it came from, and then we took the remedial step of replacing it, because it will not be in the best interest to have a paper that some people have unfair or undue advantage over. So.
And now let's bring you a recap of the stories we've shared with you this morning in Breakfast Central. Judiciary Staff Union embarks on strike, locks out judges, lawyers and litigants. Court shut down across FCT over unmet demands. A WAEC exam controversy, House issues ultimatum for submission of reports. Coming up later this morning on Breakfast Central, power play in Delta. We will be examining the politics in Delta State. And of course, Olive Emodi will be bringing us what Nigerians are saying. We'll also bring you the newspaper front pages where you're free to call in and share your thoughts with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
As Governor Oborevwori marks 2 years in office, his administration presents a mixed record of accomplishments and ongoing challenges. The Oborevwori administration has launched several programs aimed at alleviating the economic hardships faced by Deltans. Efforts have been made to provide financial aid and essential resources to households, with particular focus on women and families. Now, despite these welfare initiatives, Delta State continues to grapple with significant security issues.
Well, let's also tell you that reports indicate a surge in headsmen attacks, kidnappings, and court-related violence, especially in areas like Ughelli and Abraka. These incidents have triggered mass protests by residents and students demanding improved security measures. Meanwhile, talks continue regarding the governor's recent political shift. Well, you know what? Joining us to discuss these developments and the welfare of Deltans is the Director General of the Delta State Orientation and Communications Bureau, Dr. Fred Latimore, or GNFCB. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Dr. Latimore, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so let's start off first by saying congratulations. It's been 2 years and counting. But before we proceed with our questions, I think we'd like to hear from you first how the people or Deltans have scored the governor. So far, so good.
The score is quite high, and you can see that the governor's performance is not something that is hidden; it's in the open, and that has attracted several awards that he has received in the past 2 years, being the Governor of the Year, Best Governor in Infrastructure, and also Best Governor in Good Governance. So all of these awards points to the fact that the governor has done extremely well, and Deltas are very happy. And you saw that when the governor addressed Deltans, when he presented his scorecard to the Delta State House of Assembly, and also at the Thanksgiving that we had in the state to thank God for the numerous achievements of this administration.
Right.
So in terms of health, yes.
You know, while we talk about the numerous achievements of the state, we can't also kick aside some of the challenges in the state. The residents in Abraka have begun daily mass protests, we hear, over escalating insecurity in the university town. What is the governor's concrete plan to address this rising tension, and is a more aggressive security strategy being put in place to ensure that this is dealt with?
I think it was yesterday some residents came out to protest that they had security challenges in that Abraka axis of the state. And this challenge is not peculiar to Delta alone. I think it's something that has been on in the country from the south, from the northern part of the country to the eastern part, to the south-south, and to the southwest. But in Delta, the governor has done tremendously in trying to curtail the excesses of these, insecurity by making sure that logistics are provided for, security agencies in the state. Not too long ago, he procured over 40 HALOS vans for the security agencies in the state to fast track their activities and operations in the state, and that has yielded tremendous results. And the State Commissioner of Police and his team, they've been making several arrests and prosecuting criminals and some of these persons who want to cause insecurity in the state. But the one that happened yesterday at Abraka was quite unfortunate that some of these headsmen, they've started that activity. For a long time now, they've not been rearing their ugly heads. But I think the government is already on top of the matter. His Excellency and the state security agencies are on top of the issue, and it will soon be over.
Now, following the advent of the President Tinubu administration, the removal of subsidy and the floating of the naira has led to adverse effects for majority of Nigerians, and Deltans are not excluded. And I believe it's as a result of this that over 266,000 residents have reportedly benefited from various social intervention programs from the state government, including the Delta Cares Initiative and the Women Empowerment and Skill Acquisition Program, WAEC. While these figures, Honourable, appear quite impressive, are these initiatives truly reaching and transforming the lives of every Deltan? And what's the plan to scale up?
Tremendously. It's impacted positively. And that accounts for the popularity of His Excellency in the state. There's no part of Delta that you mentioned, Governor Oborevwori, that you won't be impressed with the response of the people. The 266,000 persons you just mentioned, they are doing quite well because the governor strategically ensured that those grants were, given to the people who actually will produce results. We targeted quite a number of them, especially those who already have small-scale businesses, and also young farmers who are already already engaged in farming. So the monitoring team went around and to ensure that the funds we are giving out are given to the right people who will help to transform the state economy, and that is yielding positive results. The women program is working. The Working Fingers, there's another program we call the Working Fingers, where about 2,000 persons have also been empowered. We also have another one that is running with the State Bureau of Job and Wealth Creation, where we reach out to youth of Deltans directly by way of trying to assist them, in their small-scale businesses. And this is working, and His Excellency will continue to do this to empower people.
I also asked if there are plans to expand this safety net programs, these social programs, to capture more Deltans.
Sure. We have these programs in phases, and subject to His Excellency's kind approval, these phases are folding, incrementally. And in the near future, between now and the next 2 years, I'm sure a lot of Deltans will be captured under these various programs because it is the governor's directive that under the meaningful development of Delta State, a lot of reforms will take place, especially in the socio-economic remodeling of the state, to ensure that a lot of people are captured, in our empowerment programs, so that can drastically reduce, poverty and to eradicate, and in fact, to take more of our youth from the streets and make them entrepreneurs. And these activities of the government in terms of economic empowerment will continue.
Okay, maybe we should talk about the pink elephant in the room. That's the defection of the governor, the former governor, and other key leaders in Delta State. What is the response of the Delta citizens to the defection of the governor? So I have a twofold question, but I'll ask you one and then I'll ask you the other. So what is the reaction of the Deltans to the defection? Because the reason they have given is that they need to be connected to the center to be able to ensure that they make, they benefit from the center, that Delta State benefits from the resources or maybe the influence of the center. Do Deltans feel like this is representative of their thoughts and their desires?
After the defection, we changed our slogan, economic slogan, from more agenda to renewed hope for more agenda. And this is resonating already with the people. Everywhere in Delta, you hear people saying renewed hope for more agenda. And at the defection, I'm sure, your station covered the event. I know Austin Azu is here with us. And you saw the turnouts of Deltans, at that very particular program. The political structure of Delta was captured from the ward level to the units, to local government, to state level. Everybody was involved. But you see, in all of this, you really cannot say that everybody in Delta, is involved, because we've had cases where some people have said, oh, they are not leaving the PDP, they are going to stay in PDP. PDP is the party that they know in Delta and all of that. But see, we are talking about the majority of Deltans here. And I can assure you that the majority of Deltans are with the governor. Just yesterday or so, the leadership of the APC in Delta State, led by the party chairman, Edda Sobotie, they were in government house to pledge loyalty and promise the governor of their full cooperation in moving the state forward. So as far as the defection is concerned, it's not history. Everywhere in Delta, on social media, everywhere, what you see is APC all over the place. In fact, I can safely assert that APC is now the main party in Delta, and we are sure that when 2027 comes, we'll be able to deliver His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Governor Oborevwori effectively and effortlessly in Delta State. Okay,
so the second part of the question about the defection is your concerns. I mean, you say now that you strongly believe the Delta State is already an APC state. Delta State has been a PDP stronghold for years. Are there concerns about PDP pushback? Do you think that at the next elections, PDP will be able to fight to regain its position? And do you think you're adequately prepared for PDP's pushback?
Pushback? Well, I don't know about that. I really don't know. Because right here in Delta, for example, I just told you that the entire state moved. I can say for sure that about 95% of politicians in Delta moved to the APC. And don't forget also that we also had APC on ground in the state before the defection of the governor and his team, and the entire structure that involves the councillors, members of the House of Assembly, National Assembly members, political appointees, in fact, pressure groups as well, political pressure groups, they all joined in the defection exercise. So as it is today, PDP pushing back. Well, of course, they will want to be the opposition party in the state, which is quite welcome. It's their right to do that. But in terms of winning election, for example, winning Delta in 2027, I think that is going to be a very Herculean task for the PDP or any other opposition party in the state.
Well, it seems like everybody is prepared for 2027, and that's the more reason why everyone is moving. Can you also share with us what people in Delta are saying, especially looking at the fact that you said 95% have moved? Some have speculated that this move is as a result of ensuring that the former governor, who is under the supervision of the anti-graft watchdog, the EFCC, can eventually gain his freedom. How true is this? Because he's a former governor, and now we see him in close ties with the current governor. Some persons are not, in short, politicians who are of the opposing party are not liking this relationship. And they're saying that it's as a result of the fact that one way to escape being caught by the anti-graft agency is to ensure that you move to the APC. How true is this?
I've said it over and over again, that in criminal jurisdiction, inviting somebody to a police station or to any anti-graft agency for questioning does not amount to abuse. You know, anybody can write petition against anybody. And the security agencies or the graft agencies are in their own, assigned responsibilities, must take up, those petitions and investigate. They are bound to call anybody for questioning over any allegation. And when they found out that those allegations are porous and are not actionable, what they normally would do is to forget anything that has to do with that investigation, pending maybe in the future when there are other evidences to hold on to. Our immediate past governor, who is our leader, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, was invited by the EFCC. And at that time, he was away. He was not in the country. And when he came back, what he did was he personally drove down to the High Court to present himself to the anti-graft agency. They interrogated him, and they asked him to go. And as we speak today, there is no action that has been filed against Governor Okowa in any court of law in this country.
Okay.
And until a competent court, until the court of competent jurisdiction says that somebody is guilty of an offense, it would be wrong for anybody to insinuate that somebody has committed an offense. So as far as we are concerned in Delta, this defection has nothing to do with anything anti-graft. It is the position taken by the leaders of the party and the entire structure that defected to the All Progressive Congress. And the closeness of Governor Okowa to Governor Sheriff, if you're in Delta here with us, maybe you could ask your correspondents, Austin Azu. Both of them have been, coming together for a long time politically and otherwise. And that unity between these two, great personalities cannot just be broken because one is now an ex-governor and the other one is a city governor. So their unity will continue, their friendship will continue, their collaboration will continue as far as we are concerned in Delta State.
Now, Honorable DG, we've reached the halfway mark of Governor Sheriff's administration, and there are 2 more years left. Are there current projects that we're waiting to see the completion of, and what should be the expectations of Deltas for the next 2 years? Are there also landmark legacy projects that are ongoing?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of more legacy projects, but those will be, announced by His Excellency himself at due time. But for now, I think we have, major infrastructure projects that are going on, which I tend to be mega projects. For example, the 3 flyovers in the state. The one at the GSC roundabout, PTI Junction and NRA Junction. Those flyovers are gigantic. They are, in fact, it's every well-meaning Nigerian that have seen these projects, they always have given kudos to His Excellency the Governor. And those ones will be completed before the end of next year, and they will be commissioned. Another project again is the dualization of the the 46-kilometer dualization of Ughelli-Asaba Expressway. That project has been hanging for so many years, but when His Excellency took over as the governor of Delta State, it made it a point of duty that this project must be completed. And as I speak to you, about 90% of that project has been completed, and it will be commissioned in the next couple of months. And it's something that we are proud of in Delta. And there are several others, that are in the offing. And I'm sure that as we move along, His Excellency the Governor will inform Deltas about more of these mega projects that are coming up between now and 2027.
All right. I'd also like to ask if we have an update regarding the death of Shimite Bello, the former Special Advisor on Trade and Export to His Excellency the Governor of Delta State. Her family has demanded a full probe. They've alleged medical negligence. They're raising questions about the circumstances of her death. They're also accusing the Delta State Police of some measure of maybe negligence. So do we have an update regarding her death? And will this probe, are we expecting some clarity soon?
Let me say that Shimite Bello's death came to us as a very big shock. His Excellency the Governor felt it. Everybody were all down because that lady is one charming, beautiful, smart, intelligent woman that has really contributed immensely to the development of the state. She was in the previous administration and was also appointed as a special advisor by His Excellency Governor Oborevwori. Her death is very painful, and that is all I can say for now. To comment on the issues around her death, that will be left for the law enforcement agencies. Because the last time I saw some publication on the social media, they did say that the matter, they are asking the Inspector General of Police to take over the investigation. And when matters are under investigation, it is not the best time to start to make unnecessary comments. So I think we should allow the police and other law enforcement agents to finish their investigation and address the public on what actually led to her death.
All right. Final question from my end would be looking at the president's 2 years in office. We've looked at the subnational, of course, with our focus on Delta State. How would you mark the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration in 2 years? Many would say it's a no-brainer because you have moved, your principal has moved already to the ruling party APC. So, of course, it's obvious that you're going to mark the current administration 100%. But can you share with us what aspects that you think the current and ruling administration is doing well and where they're not doing well?
I think that the policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is for the best interest of this country. If you look at the issue of removal of fuel subsidy, which has been a very big problem in this country, you will thank Mr. President. Because in the past, we are aware that there are some persons who were benefiting tremendously from this fuel subsidy. And we also learned that some young people who have no business with even importation were buying private jets. But today, such monies are now being channeled to the states, and that is why you see that most of these states today, they are embarking on mega infrastructure projects in their respective states and spreading social, economic benefits to their people. So I think that although we cannot completely eradicate the sufferings that come with fuel subsidy. Of course, yes, all of us, we are affected because, it also made inflation up. But you see, economic reforms all over the world, in Singapore, China, around the world, if you read the history of economic reforms, you will discover that some of it will come with some pains for, a period of time. And that's what Nigerians are going through at the moment. You can also see that when the fuel subsidy was removed initially, the price of petrol was between 1,600 to 2,000 and all that. It has dropped to about 901 naira and 890 naira. So our appeal to Mr. President is that he should ensure that the refineries in the country are working, and then also that the Dangote refinery should also be allowed to operate efficiently, so that when both are pumping fuel into the country, the prices of petrol can drop drastically. That is on one side. On the other one, you can see the mega, infrastructure project that Mr. President is also doing. That will also facilitate, transportation of goods and services, and also promote tourism. I think 2 days ago or thereabout, he commissioned the Lagos Calabar, mega road project, and there are other ones in the offing, in the north, in the south, in the west. And I think that all of this put together with the kind of social welfare packages he has for Deltans, transferring money to the vulnerable people in this country and the poor people, and also with the scholarship program, with the grants for students, vulnerable students who are nowhere to do, giving them the opportunity to access federal funds to continue their education. And I think all of these are good indications that Mr. President means well for the country. So my take is that, we are facing a lot of economic challenges at the moment as a result of the policies of this administration. But I do know that in the near future, it shall be well with all of us, and things will come back to normal.
Well, we certainly do want things to return to normal for the whole of the country. But before we wrap up, I think my final question will be regarding the people of Owa Igbo Kingdom. 50 indigenes, or at least 50 indigenes, have taken to protest, and they've petitioned the governor. They're claiming that their ancestral lands are being sold to wealthy investors. They're saying their farmlands being turned into luxury apartments, and they've said that the Obi, who is His Royal Majesty Emmanuel Ife-Izomo II, he's the one overseeing the sale of the communal land, and they are petitioning the governor to step in and ensure that this is rectified, so they don't lose their inheritance to what should have been for their children to wealthy people. Do we have? I mean, I don't know if you're aware about this and can give us further details on this.
I really don't have much details about this. Land issues are very complex issues. You don't just delve into a matter that pertain to land, except you have the history of that community, except you have the history of the people in that community and how they've been cohabiting or coexisting. So issues of land is very complex, and I don't want to delve into that.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for
very
joining
much,
us.
Director General of Delta State Orientation and Communications Bureau, Dr. Fred Latimo Ogenesiwe. Thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And we wish the Delta State indigenes, all Deltans, wish the best. I know Benga is looking at me because I'm a Deltan as well. We're looking forward to the best for our state.
All right.
All right. Let's now move on
Benga is the only person who's not
proud daughter of Delta.
Yes,
we celebrate you.
Proud daughter of Delta. Thank you very much.
It feels good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
To be aligned in southern,
Okay, it's true. You're not in this. Oh, okay.
South Association.
We are all one
I'm
Nigeria.
just saying, we're all one. Don't mind us. They don't want to.
we are
But it's funny how that word South defies all geographical sense, and it's permanent in our political lexicon.
And it shouldn't be actually.
North or west, or
there's nothing
like South. But I mean, it's peculiar.
I think it's come to stay because it helps define.
And it works.
It
I mean,
works.
the specific region, and we're the only ones in the world that understand it.
South Nigeria. So you're thinking, certainly, you're very correct. I've never actually thought about that in that way.
Yeah,
but that's a very valid
point. I remember I was with someone, the person said, there's nothing like South. Just call it the southern part of Nigeria. Don't tell me South. But then again, like you said, it's come to stay, and that's why we're used to it.
I look forward to the time where we can get to a place in Nigeria where when we see people, you're not thinking, are you from the southern part of the country or from the northern part of the country, that the first thing you think is, this is Nigerian. This person is Nigerian. Just like in Rwanda, where you're not thinking of, are you Tutsi or are you Hutu, because
and trust
they have
me,
come from a civil war and they've learned from the civil war.
Because when outsiders look at us, fellow Africans, they see the vibrancy in, I just saw a video of this guy that he did in Anambra State, the tapestry of colors here and there.
Yeah.
And it would be boring if everybody was just so the same culture. And, you know, just being under the umbrella, Nigeria, gives us a lot to brag about. Look at us when we play football. Everybody, also, you don't say Osimhen is from this part of the country, or
Exactly.
Ahmed Musa is from this part.
Even
They're
in
Nigerians, we win.
You don't say the Benin striker.
Yes, everybody doesn't think,
that worry defender. You know.
So if you realize, I mean, from all that we've seen, the main thing that divides us as a nation is politics.
Politics.
That's the main thing that divides us. In
I mean,
music,
we
we're
do
united.
business on a daily basis,
Yes.
and it's funny how I think the National Orientation Agency also has to drum this into the ears of Nigerians that we should focus on the positive. People find themselves online, they're being tribal and all of that, but in real life, we play together, you eat together, you marry, so
the Igbos and the Muslims stop marrying each other.
They need to drum that noise of tribalism and division, and we should begin to celebrate.
And the little
our
pockets where we
togetherness.
see it happening, let's pick up against it.
Yes.
Like now, I'm going to meet with my mechanic this week, and I'm going to have a conversation with him because I had noticed a pattern that anytime he wants to repair something in the car, he'll be like, I called that Omoibo, one of Omoibo where this thing, and they feel they trust Omoibo. He said it once, and I was taken aback. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
He said it again a second time, but I said to myself that when I'm able to sit down with him, I need to have a conversation with him. I mean, it may not change much, but he will know that whenever he's having that kind of conversation with me, he doesn't say further stereotypes like that.
Maybe, you just gave an idea, and I think we should put it down. We have work to do. And the work I think we have to do, maybe we can take it up here on Breakfast Central, and every once in a week, we have what you shouldn't say. Maybe we can help push the movement, the narrative, so that everybody watching could understand. For instance, this could be a good one.
Yeah.
Try to avoid words like Omo Yoruba,
or
Omo Igbo, or what do they call them?
Aboki,
or Ajaukuta, Mamomi.
I don't know.
Yes.
Tribal slurs.
The tribal slurs. I think we need to make it clear to people. And you're right. You will find people who are aged. I'm talking about 60, 70. They say, Omo Igbo. It's so ingrained
and even
in the
we
system.
Subconsciously,
Yes,
we need
we
to
also
be
say
aware
that,
there's
yes.
certain things that we say too that are tribal slurs that we're not even aware of.
I'm sure the Hausa man who is enlightened, if you've met some of them, they tell you they don't like Aboki or Malam, because they say while a word might mean brother, they will tell you that the background doesn't mean brother.
I always thought Aboki meant friend.
Yeah.
Aboki is friend, but the context.
Exactly. So they'll tell you, no, don't call me that. Just call me Musa and so on. So I think it's about educating the people, be it whatever generation, because this didn't start in this generation. It must have started from way back from our parents. I don't think in the 70s there was such. I don't think, because when you speak to your older folks, they tell you no, there was nothing like that. I mean, back then they'll tell you if dogs were roaming the streets, each dog had a tag of the owner's name, so everybody was living as one. And we also experienced it for those of us who were born within the late 70s, early 80s. You may have witnessed, like they say, we've lived through 3 generations, so we've seen it all, and we can really tell the changes that we've experienced from when it was really good to when it was really friendly. The community would raise a child. They dare you not.
And another thing that we now need to learn again is understanding the different tribes. I know Nigeria has a lot of tribes, but we need to make everybody that is not Igbo, anyone that is not Yoruba or Hausa is Igbo. Anyone that is not Igbo or Hausa is Yoruba. But I think the people that often get misunderstood the most will be the Igbo and the Hausa tribes. Because, for example, somebody who asks you where you're from, and you say you're from Akwa Ibom, Omo Igbo.
Exactly.
So people need to understand that even Akwa Ibom is not the same thing as Cross River.
It's not.
Like
it's not. Even though they were together, but of course,
we need to make efforts to learn.
Everybody is Calabar.
The same way that we go abroad and you're feeling upset when a European lecturer is maybe just asking you, where are you from? I tell them your name, or some European or Caucasian ask you where you're from, and you tell them your name. I say, oh, I have a friend called Kwame from Ghana. Do you know him? Because they just assume that everybody. Africa is not a country. And you get offended by that.
Yeah.
We do that to ourselves. It's not the best.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a lot of work. It shows that we all have a lot of work to do.
Our biases.
Our biases. And one way or the other, coincidentally, in our subconscious, it's there because we've heard it so much. You know, like they say, when you listen to an advert over and over again, it subconsciously plays. Your brain brings it back like a recorder and plays it out. So, unbeknownst to you or anyone else, you just might blur or blot it out and just say it, and that's where we need to work on. But it's a good conversation I think we should have. It's a wonderful conversation to look into, whether we like it or not.
How we can. So maybe the conversation will be about factors that hinder Nigeria's tribal unity.
Absolutely.
And then we can look at the factors, look at the gender slurs, and then look at the ways forward. The background, how did we get to that? Because after all this thing, we're abusing each other. They are still marrying each other. They are still every weekend.
You know the funny thing, love knows no bounds.
Or her.
Exactly. But still eating each other's food.
That your soup. I love that your soup.
I know that I'm going to go and look for certain meals. Like Abeokuta, there's a certain restaurant, I don't call their name, so I'll not give them free advert. I'm going there to go and eat their amala because it's the best amala I've ever eaten in my life.
And these are cultural and traditional meals. You know, you don't say they belong to you use it to identify a group of people, and then after you finish and say, but I love that they are.
There's beauty in our diversity.
Yes,
beautiful, and embrace it.
I look forward to us being able to have maybe festivals in the nearest future. The Calabar Carnival used to be like that. Festivals where different cultures can come and showcase, and we can, and that would be a great idea because we can then have people from different parts of the world mark this as a festival to attend. Ojude Oba, it's a great festival celebrating, Western Nigeria. That's great. But I'm talking of a festival that's all encompassing, where the Calabar Bible can come and showcase their culture, where the different cultures in Nigeria. It's just a festival of cultural brilliance. I don't know if we have.
But should I tell you where the problem starts from? Do you know where the problem starts from, guys? Not really. No.
Which is?
The problem starts from our educational system. We've gone back there. I mean, why doesn't the curriculum have culture and tradition? It used to be there in the past, under history.
Well, they've introduced history.
They have, but I mean, if you talk to people who are in schools now, they will tell you.
I believe, schools are trying. They have like their cultural day.
Benga is not enough.
I mean, it's something. It's better than not doing it.
Benga is just wearing a clothes. I mean, when my kids say it's cultural day,
it sends a lot of message. If you know the problems the parents have to go through to find it.
I spoke like a true parent. And I find the thought about NYC. The NYC that was supposed to be an opportunity for us to express cultural diversity. Now, when they send you to my degree, you go and find a way to ensure that your family members or you yourself come back to serve in Lagos. So we have a long way to go. Again, insecurity is part of that. But let's move on.
But it's fine.
But let's take a look at this interesting development. Edo State is taking a cue from Lagos, I believe. Edo State government has reintroduced its monthly environmental sanitation 8 years after suspension. They're basically saying if we don't trust you to clean your environment, we'll force you to. So in Edo State, every last Saturday of the month from 7 to 10 a.m. News Central's Israel Afferable reports.
An 8-year pause. The Edo State government has revived its monthly environmental sanitation exercise, an initiative now being held every last Saturday of the month from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Deputy Governor Dennis Itahosa supervised the cleanup exercise.
This exercise must not be seen as a mere routine, but a clarion call and a civic responsibility for each and every one of us to take ownership of our environment, to cherish the land that we call our homes, and to work together for a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable Edo State that guarantees a healthy living.
To ensure full compliance, 19 mobile courts were set up across the state, where officials say some violators have been prosecuted for violating the order. Managing Director of the State Waste Management Board, Lucky Enehita Inegbenehi, says sensitization is ongoing to get everyone on board.
People talk about sensitization. sensitizing people from those states, creating awareness here and there, which we have been doing. Almost every day you see me on TV station, you see me on radio station. That's the first P, talking about the people, sensitizing people, and also the work for the people, work for my employees. So that's the first P. And the second P talks about planet, prioritizing our environment.
Some residents shared their thoughts on the exercise.
It is commendable for Governor Oborevwori, the executive governor of the state, to reintroduce the environmental sanitation exercise. In fact, Edo State has now become a reference point to other states.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a good development. It makes people to take care of the environment. A lot of diseases will be avoided.
For the past 8 years, this thing has not come much. So for the first time, people come out to clean up their houses, environment. It was fantastic.
The driver of this vision is His Excellency Senator Monday Oborevwori, the executive governor of Edo State. His vision is very clear. He wants to make Edo State the cleanest, the healthiest, and most environmentally friendly. So these are his words, and this is his vision.
With civic participation, stricter enforcement, plus government support, it is believed and hoped that the reintroduction of the monthly environmental sanitation exercise here in Edo State will mark an era for a cleaner, healthier state. In Benin City, Edo State, for News Central, Israel Eferobo.
A fantastic report there from Israel Eferobo reporting from Edo State. And we've seen Lagos State take a cue from this. What do? Do you oblige people to clean their environment? Because it should be something you do voluntarily. And I mean, 7 to 10 a.m. People have weddings to attend, groomsmen duties. That's when me and my homeboys assemble. When back then, when I had lots of friends. And then now you have restriction of movement from 7 to 10. People also go for football practice. You need to take the kids to jiu-jitsu class, taekwondo. You need to go and eat breakfast, full English breakfast, or sushi. Or pizza.
I like it. I support it.
So on Saturday morning,
I support.
Are you happy to come out and declare your
bear in mind.
What's going to happen to the breakfast center?
It is one Saturday in the month from 7 to 10. Just one Saturday, the last Saturday. I grew up knowing the environmental sanitation, and I think, I stand to be corrected, that it helped in keeping Lagos clean. Even when it was stopped in November 2016, we saw a rise in, so when people are saying Lagos is smelling, this is part of it.
Like I don't like giving out.
If you pause,
but if you clean once in a while, if it's
but the thing is,
in a month,
no, remember that
habit.
In markets, they have theirs every Thursday.
Yes,
you know,
they
still do, but they're not really. It's not effective like before. Those days growing up, it was a must. They had officers who would go around. They ensured that, listen, from morning before you open your stores or shop, like they call it, at 12, you must clean. But these days what we see is the cleaning process is no longer there. So if you ask me, if I were to be governor, this is one of the first things I would enforce.
Okay.
Everybody.
After enforcing it, you tell some of us that they are collecting service charges from.
No.
That they should cut down our service charges. Because I'm not going to come out on Saturday morning.
Areas and accommodation. No.
But
it doesn't mean, look, when they say environmental sanitation, it doesn't mean you will come out from your apartment and start cleaning.
Yeah, and go to
you
the
already
streets.
have a system.
You have a house.
You have a house.
The
people
system
in
that
front of
works.
your house would clean the immediate environment. It doesn't mean everybody will have to come out and clean.
I'm just saying, Sha,
I think it made it more intentional. It made it more focus driven. That the gutter system, the waterways, everything was cleaned
and I
at a certain period of time. And then it
growing
stopped.
up, we had this thing called town council members who go in Yoruba, they call them Wuli Wuli. That's look house, inspect, to go and check if there's dirty inside your house. look house, and things like that. And it used to keep people on their toes. Nigerians are just, we can't do that now.
To be honest,
impunity, I know we can't do it, but I
get the concept of
the message, and you need to drum it in their ears. People are dirty.
Fact.
I get the concept of it, I'm being honest. I know I'm talking from my own perspective of, like, for example, my housekeeper on Saturday mornings, I tell her, please don't come and knock on my door as early as 7 a.m. I wake up every day at 4 a.m. to be able to make it to work. Saturday is the only day I sleep in. Please, I don't want to get any calls at 7 a.m. I don't want to see you in my house till like 9. So I know I sleep in late. But I can't use my personal preference. I would rather pay for somebody to do the cleaning.
No, it's fine.
So I can rest. However, I get the mindset. Remember when, was it the Dubai that hosted the World Cup? Qatar.
And then you
remember they said after the games, people were picking up the Chinese were picking things after themselves. I was seeing a clip on Twitter of somebody posting a video in Japan and saying Japan is so clean that look at how their flood water is even clear. So I think we need a reorientation. It's the basic things. Let's go back to even in primary schools. In primary schools, part of our responsibilities was picking up around you. In the mornings or after school, during break time, as soon as the break is over, they leave 5 minutes and say everybody pick up a piece of paper, pick up a bottle. We need to also start going back to the place where we can put punitive measures. I'm so appalled when I see people driving. They wind down and fling out a PET bottle. They fling out nylon. They finish eating a snack. They fling it out of the window. I will share the story, and I've shared it on the show before, how at a supermarket in Lekki Phase 1, these very fancy, and it's always the fine cars, fancy looking SUV that look like Yona has sense. The person, they were eating and I was parked beside them, and they wound down and flung a bottle out of the window in the supermarket that has a bin. What did I do? I came down and I went to pick the bottle and I showed it to the person and shook my head. I went and threw it inside the bin.
They will abuse you.
Will it cause them to, they might still tomorrow, they might still look at me like...
They would abuse
you.
No,
it's just, you might be wealthy, but very dirty.
Very dirty mind.
And look, I'd rather keep it in my car.
Yes, I have a corner in my car where I put all my things. When I'm done...
And if everybody does that, it will reduce the...
It's a lot. That's why I agree with this. Indiscriminate dumping, blockage of the waterway system. That's why everywhere is clogged. Whenever it rains, you have flooding. And every flooding, you always see the bottles. And then you see the food nylons, the pack, of course, with a little bit of, floating as well.
A little bit of
Let's ban the use of styrofoam.
That's fine.
But we need to move on to single-use plastic like Rwanda and other places. And we say cleanliness is next to godliness. So I wonder where some of these people got this culture.
So I've been an advocate against the use of single-use plastic. I worked with an NGO many years back where we were advocating for the elimination of single-use plastic. And I think it's a great move here in Lagos and in Nigeria, but there are certain things that need to be put in place. We don't have affordable water, and then you are telling people not to buy pure water. They shouldn't buy sachet water. If you do things like that, that would be a challenge. So there are certain things that we need to put in place. I think is a fantastic move because there are countries you can't get you can't go past the airport with your plastic bags. In Rwanda, Kenya, there are certain countries that prioritize their environment, and we need to get to that point as well. But there are certain things that we need to do to ensure that we're able to do all that.
You have to create your own bowl system. You have to ensure that water is clean. The water board systems are no longer functional like they used to be in the late and early 80s down to 90s and so on. But anyway,
some restaurants have jumped on it. You want to buy something in certain restaurants.
I've been going. You need to check my bag. I have the nylons now too. I don't waste.
I carry it in my hand because I don't have shame. After forgetting it,
why not?
Carry my plantain here, put my groundnut oil here.
A whole superstar.
I don't care. I'm carrying my eggs like this.
That's true.
I have a video of me carrying everything to the car.
But let's be like Japan. Bottom line, they cleaned. They always clean.
After that,
Nigerians should take that lesson. I agree. I support the sanitation. Bring it back. Bring it back. Yes.
Okay.
I support it.
It's been quite the morning. Number of conversations have been had. Let's share with you recap and let's let you know what's still to come on Breakfast Central.
Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. We begin the news in West Africa, Nigeria. The Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has paid a condolence visit to Niger State following catastrophic flash floods that swept through Mokwa local government area, will be accompanied by former Minister Nnamdi Usman and Labour Party spokesperson Yunus Tanko, arrived in the state to express solidarity with the affected communities. During his visit, the former Anambra State Governor announced a 20 million donation to aid recovery efforts, reaffirm his commitment to supporting communities in crisis. Now let's turn our attention to security matters. The commander of the United States Africa Command, General Michael Langley, has raised the alarm over growing efforts by extremist groups and terrorists in the Sahel to gain access to West Africa's coastline, describing recent attacks in Nigeria, the wider Sahel, and the Lake Chad Basin as deeply troubling. Langley warned that terrorist access to the coast would significantly boost their capacity for smuggling and arms trafficking. Langley, who spoke during a press conference at the weekend, said the United States was increasingly concerned that a coastal incursion would not only endanger African nations but also raise the threat level to American interest. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has blasted members of the coalition led by former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, over allegations of non-performance of the current administration and promoting poverty among citizens. Wike, during a media chat in Abuja, says that the allegations made during the 60th birthday ceremony lecture of a former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, with the theme Weaponization of Poverty as a Means of Underdevelopment, which held the nation's capital, Abuja, is shameful, false, and an attempt to mislead Nigerians. The indefinite strike declared by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria was in full swing at the Federal High Court and Court of Appeal in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Litigants and lawyers who were stranded at the courts on Monday lamented that the practice contributed largely to the delay in the justice system in Nigeria. News Central correspondent Biola Festus reports that legal practitioners were scheduled for court proceedings expressed their disappointment seeing the premises on the lock and key.
Down the justice system, like me now, I came here to obtain a ruling of the justices because I needed it to use as an affidavit to the processes I'm filing. Well, I needed to appeal to the Supreme Court because the ruling, we are not comfortable, my client is not comfortable with the ruling. So we need to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now the place is locked. I'm not going to get the ruling of the Court of Appeal to enable me move my appeal to Supreme Court.
Lawyers are frustrated. I can't come here tomorrow, and all the money I'm supposed to make tomorrow as a legal practitioner, I can't make the money again. So it's affecting MBA generally. So please, we are appealing to the federal government. Meet with these people, settle them. We want the business of the court to continue.
We have the zeal to work. We are anxious of the work. The work is not the issue. What we say, we have exercised a lot of patience. It didn't start today. They keep promising, and we felt enough is enough. They have fooled us for a very long time. So all we want and all we are saying that we just want those things being done. Let us see it with our eyes. Not to say, please call off. Let's go back to the round table. As we speak, we are not ready to go to the table anymore. There's nothing new they are going to tell us. So the best bet is that let us see the alert and we call off immediately. If by the time I go to bed, alert comes in, I know my leader will say, oh, Kennedy, please, well, let work commence, and we will.
Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group active in West Africa's Sahel region has claimed an attack on a military base in Mali on Sunday that two sources, said had killed more than 30 soldiers. In a separate attack on Monday, the group Jama'a Nusrat ul-Islam Wal al-Muslimin, JNIM, said it targeted a military airport and Russian mercenaries in the northern city of Timbuktu. where residents describe taking cover from explosions and gunfire. More than 400 soldiers have been reportedly killed by insurgents since the start of May in bases and towns in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, an unstable region prone to coups. Sunday's attacks in central Mali hit a military base in Boulkessi near the border with Burkina Faso. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Oborevwori. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's go straight to the front pages of the Nigerian newspapers. And let's start off with the Punch. Don't forget that you can be part of the front pages by simply calling the number that you'd find there on the screen and let's know your thoughts. Share it with us right here and right now. Well, let's go straight to the Punch. Very first paper right now. And the Punch has that very powerful header there. Wike's Tinubu endorsement sparks opposition firestorm. So there's a firestorm, and like we said, it was during the media chat with members of the press. The FCT minister, former governor of Rivers State, openly acknowledged his support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and that he would be supporting him ahead of the 2027 elections. And that's exactly what he said. At the top, their presidency moves to settle 2 trillion naira power debt. There seems to be a lot of debt backlogs, and the presidency is ready to settle that. That means good news for Nigerians. Reps grill WAEC chiefs over exam disruptions. We had a little video on that just the previous hour, where we saw the House of Representative members quizzing and asking WAEC chiefs why they have decided to put Nigeria in bad light. Judiciary workers strike ground courts. We also talked about this in the first hour as well, just in case you missed it. 7 states spend 190% of revenue on loan repayment. And that's a good one if you have to spend it because you're making more money from the federal government allocations. Well, federal government estimates 880 billion naira yearly for road maintenance. 880 billion naira? Really? How many roads are we going to have? The Lagos-Ibadan, Ekpe and all of that, all in that plan. But we do not know. You just might want to read it. Page 32 of the Punch. Let's take a few more before we look at some of the stories we could quickly touch. Boko Haram failed by political elites to destabilize Tinubu, according to Kalu. Which of the Kalu here? Is it former Governor Oborevwori or Kano, or is it what's his role again? You have the President of the Senate and the Vice President of the Senate as well. In National Assembly, I beg your pardon, as well. So we need to know. But then again, you can find that story on page 16. Let's take a look at another story very quickly. 3 Nigerians back 15 years jail term for fraud in India. And Lagos APC LP in turmoil as PDP eyes local government poll upset. How possible is that? Don't forget there are stories emanating from that one, which initially saw some political party members of the APC aggravated and angry rather, because they had allegedly paid the sum of over 5-point-something million to ensure that they got their forms, but then again they were told that the process would be changed after certain things didn't go well for them. But these are the stories you find on the front page of the Punch. If I am to pick one that we would look at, it definitely would be the story that has got to do with something that we've talked about initially. But then again, it's still about the judiciary workers strike grounds courts. We don't know how long this would take. We're still in expectation of the federal government speaking soon.
And also, IATA decries the high cost of air travel in Nigeria, the operational cost for airlines. They have to make a profit at the end of the day, and if they are paying so much for fuel, for maintenance, for administrative fees, it's only logical that these monies, the costs will be transferred to the consumers, and yes, we have to pay for it. Look at Lagos to Abuja flight, for example. It's almost
I missed the day.
$80.
Well, we could use 80,000 naira to go to Abuja and come back.
Yeah, 80,000.
Or 60,000 naira
I mean,
to go to Abuja and come back.
I still recall in my adult memory that 10,000 naira.
Yeah, there was 10,000. There was 5,000
naira
returned to Ghana.
Let's even agree that those things are gone.
Oh my goodness.
But it shouldn't be this.
The last time I went to Ghana, I paid 90,000 naira return ticket to Ghana. Wow. Now, Ghana is a proper abroad fee. The money we used to go to Ghana now is what we used to go to other parts of the country. It's really, really sad. Okay, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune and just say to you that if you want to react, you want to drop your thoughts, your comments, your contributions on any of the stories on the front pages of the newspapers, please call the numbers on your TV screen. We want to hear your thoughts about any of the stories. The Nigerian Tribune is our next paper. On the front page, weaponization of poverty, APC tackles Atiku, Amechi, El-Rufai, says, trial united by desperation. Wow. Silent on 8 years of Buhari administration. NAF airstrikes kill 20 terrorists in Zamfara. Courts shut, lawyers, litigants stranded as judiciary workers begin strike. So it would seem that the strike has commenced by JUSUN. We earlier today spoke with Sagir Ibrahim, who gave us updates regarding the strike. Certain people like the Supreme Court, or certain members of the Supreme Court, the Federal High Court, and I think the National Industrial Court pulled out from the strike because they probably don't agree with that being as a viable tool maybe. But remember what they're asking for: payment of 5 months salary arrears, I think wage arrears. There's also the increase in their salary, 35% salary increase, as well as implementation of 70,000 naira minimum wage. These are their asks. It doesn't seem like they've been able to come to a level playing field with the Ministry of Labor and Employment. But still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, North must support Southwest in 2027 to complete 8 years in power, according to Shehu Sani. So he was in an interview on, I think, Channels TV, and there he was talking about politics and politicking. He talked about how even if the other political parties, the coalition or the opposition, even if they want to field candidates, they should just make sure that whoever it is they're presenting should be from the southwestern part of Nigeria. As when it was time for President Muhammadu Buhari to run for 8 years, the South supported the North in ensuring that President Muhammadu Buhari ran his full term. So now it's the turn of the South. Again, like we say here, or like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says, Emilocom.
Yes.
Southwest Locom. That is what Shehu Sani is trying to point at, which again reminds me of the argument put forward by Nyesom Wike, when he criticized a number of the moves by the PDP, exactly, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, stating why he did not throw his support behind them, stating that it's a turn for the southern part of the country and not the north. So
but these things aren't written anywhere.
Yes, they aren't written. The Constitution allows.
I mean, but if you look at equity, fairness, and justice, that's why I guess.
So the argument about zoning, I don't think it's an argument that we can lay to rest, because there are proponents of zoning that will push for it and say that in the interest of fairness, zoning is an arrangement that ensures that there is fairness and that every party, even the seemingly minor people in the party, get adequate representation. There are others who will say, no, actually, zoning marginalizes, as it doesn't give everybody a free chance to be able to participate in the elections. But the third tranche of the argument will be those who say that zoning is convenient. People only support zoning when it's in their favor. But when it's not in their favor, they're against zoning.
But in the general scheme of things, I mean, if we're going to develop our democracy, we should focus more on competence. If it means the most competent person comes from this side most times, then so be it, because you're president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're not president of Southwest, South or Northeast. But because we know the sensibilities and how sensitive culture is in Nigeria, we need to win ourselves off this primordial sentiment.
All right, assault on Vice Principal, Ondo Police arrest parent and 4 others. Aggrieved lawmakers ask WAEC registrar to resign over conduct of midnight exams. Suspect headers kill 43 in Benue communities. And final story, ground rent. Wike says, I derive joy in stepping on the toes of powerful people. Very interesting headlines there.
It reminds me of, like the Gen Zs will say, it's giving I do not like peace.
It's giving aura for aura.
Yes.
Anyway, that's all that we're taking this morning on the front pages of the newspapers. We'll go on a very quick break. When we come back, it's the state of the nation, and we'll be joined by Kenneth Okonkwo to break down some very trending political and economic conversations. Stay with us.
Reactions have continued to trail President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's performance 2 years into his administration. While some commend the government for its economic reforms, many are now questioning the president's claims of economic progress, juxtaposing them against the daily realities faced by most Nigerians.
Politically, the state of the opposition appears dire as the nation seems to be tilting towards a one-party system, even though we see that those in the opposition party strongly disagree with this. Disarray within several political parties, including the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, has only fueled this perception. As Nigeria approaches the 2027 general elections, political realignments have become increasingly common. Discussions around the formation of a coalition party are gaining momentum, with several political figures calling for a united front to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress. Will the coalition thrive? To discuss the state of the nation with us today is politician Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, viewers, for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. To kickstart the conversation, let's get your general thoughts and assessments about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 years in office. How would you judge the time in office? Yesterday we had a representative from the presidency who spoke to the fact that there are so many policies that he's put in place to ensure improved conditions, and he did state that things are starting to look up in Nigeria, that in the next 2 years we'll see a solidifying of all the positive policies that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put in place.
Well, let's start this conversation with the time-honored philosophy of Richard Steele. Richard Steele said, so when you want to comment someone, add reasons why you're doing so. Because this is what distinguishes the approbation of a man of sense from the flattery of sycophants and admiration of fools. There's no way anybody will be praising this government without appearing like a fool. When they came in, Tinubu in inauguration ground said fuel subsidy is gone. And then when he was saying that, there was no cabinet in place. Fuel price rose from 195 naira to 617 naira in one swoop. And then they floated in naira, and naira depreciated, going to almost 2,000 naira to a dollar from about 460 naira. And the only defense they have is be patient. Nigerians became hungry. His own people started shouting, Ebin power. And their response, be patient. Be patient first 100 days. Be patient 6 months. Be patient 1 year. Be patient 2 years. Half of the journey. And they are still asking people to be patient. Are you praising this government? You are doing it on the blood and the graves of people in Benue State that are being massacred every day. As I talk to you, people are dying in Benue State, not because they committed any crime, but because Tinubu is their president that could not defend them. Benue State is an APC state governed by a reverend father. So spiritually, you say a reverend father is in charge. Politically, you say they are a member of Tinubu's party. And yet they are dying every day from terrorists, from killer headsmen, and no end in sight and no solution. And some people are praising this government. They are doing it on the graves and blood of the innocent Nigerians that are massacred everywhere and every day. You talk about Plateau, you talk about the Northwest, talk about the Southeast, kidnappers are discovered with graves, with people burying people alive. And Tinubu's purported security reports, they don't take such reports, security reports to him for prevention. It is the security report that will help him to take the resources of Rivers State in the name of declaring state of emergency. That's the security report they will see. But security reports to bring security to Nigerians, they will not give him. I want you to understand, security is the basic necessity that every government owes to its citizens. This government has failed in its area of security. People are scared to travel through the rivers, the sea, because flood will come and sweep them away. Look at what's happening in Niger State. 200 persons just died. And it is not a situation that is not foreseeable. These things happen every day. You know, when people talk about Tinubu's regime and they say, these problems were there before him, I actually realize that the media and the spokespersons are very unintelligent. Because when you make such statement, you are actually indicting him. Because what you're trying to say is that this government ought to have been aware or is aware of all the problems before coming in. That means they did not come with any solution. If it is a problem that is not there before, if it's a novel problem, you say, okay, they are facing a new challenge, give them time. But these are problems that have been there. Boko Haram has been there. Insurgents have been there. Lakurawa has been there. The bandits, the kidnappers, they have been there. There is nothing new. A man that said to be the president is his life ambition did not make any preparation to bring solution to all the problems that he knew were there. And now we are hemorrhaging. We are going into more deprivation, into more degradation, into more hunger, into more hardship, into the worst of mankind. Do you know? The present report now is that Nigeria has more malnourished children than Sudan. Nigeria has overtaken Sudan, a war-torn country, as in malnourished children. If our children are malnourished, that means the failure of this government is moving even towards the next generation. They have destroyed their own generation. They are moving in to destroy the next generation. This government has nothing to offer Nigerians except destruction, except wastages. We're talking about security. Do we talk about the economy? This government that removed fuel subsidy, say the reason is because they will be saving $7.2 billion every year, and it will help them to provide infrastructure for the people. It will release money for them to cater for the welfare of the people. What have they catered for? This same government has borrowed Nigeria into bondage more than any other government before it. In December 2024, our debt profile reached 144 trillion naira. This government met only 77 trillion naira as general debt of Nigeria. They are now seeking to borrow $21.5 billion. Jesus.
I mean, yesterday,
where did these people come from?
From the presidency spoke about that. He explained, I don't know if you can hear me, when the representative from the presidency spoke about that, he said that it does not necessarily mean that they're going to spend all that millions at once, that is just some sort of maybe a borrowing plan. That's what, that was part of the explanation he gave for that. But if you talk about the current administration, from all indications and what you've said, you do not seem pleased, and you did say that the current administration does not have anything to offer Nigerians. Let's talk about your expectation for 2027. There's been talks about the coalition. Do you have faith in the potential of a coalition? And if yes, who do you think will be the champions of this coalition? All right, we're going to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll have Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo, joining us this morning. Please stay with us. back to the conversation as we analyze the state of the nation, and we're still joined by Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo. Before we went on that break, you had highlighted all the things that you were displeased about regarding the current administration, mentioning that the current administration has nothing to offer Nigerians. If you strongly believe that the current administration has nothing to offer Nigerians, do you have hope in the coalition to maybe unseat the current administration? And if yes, who do you think will head this coalition?
Well, coalition is simply an alliance for combined action. The issue of leadership does not arise now. So, yes, the noise is echoing.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. We can hear you clearly. Please go ahead. And your audio is great on our end.
All right. The issue of who is leading the coalition, the issue of who is leading the coalition does not arise for now, because we are not trying to build a coalition for the next election. We're trying to build a coalition to build this nation to become a great nation on earth. So we are not interested in scrambling for leadership. We're looking at the next generation. Like I said, coalition is an alliance for combined action. So you have to agree on the alliance first. You have to agree on the basic necessities to return Nigeria to the path of greatness. Then the leadership will evolve. So I am not aware that there are people that you are saying they are leaders, but I am aware that is a collective responsibility. People coming together who are tired of the malaise that is going on in Nigeria. A coalition of the willing who wants to come together to build a better society. So it's not a scramble for leadership, it's not a scramble for power, it's not a scramble for resources, it is a scramble for the security and welfare of Nigerians. That's why we are not emphasizing leadership or who is the leader. We are emphasizing what are the manifesto, what are the terms of reference. Then whoever is interested in providing such things for Nigeria will sign up to the coalition, and then the leadership will evolve from there. Having said that, everybody is convinced now that in Nigeria things are not moving the way they should move. Also, in the opposition, you cannot go it alone in order to take out an incompetent incumbent. So you have to come together. In union there is strength. So when you come together, you will be able to oppose INEC that has become a rigging machine for the ruling party. When you come together, you will be able to build the trust from the people that you have unity at least that will help you to govern well. When you come together, you will be able to bring legitimacy to your request, and immediately your government comes into effect, you will be able to form the government from very powerful people of substance that have character, capacity, and that have the competence, because you would have many of them. So the coalition is building itself, is organic, is forming up, and then we have leaders that are of integrity, that are emerging from the coalition. And when we combine, then we will be able to deliver for Nigerians.
Do you think you've been fair, your assessment of this administration? Because looking at the health of the economy when President Tinubu took over, it was in dire straits, and majority of those who were contesting against him, the front runners, had also said that they were going to remove subsidy. Having said this, are there any positives you've seen in the last 2 years? Because you can't say, I believe, that, you know, nothing good has come. They've not done anything positive when the government has rolled out some policies and initiatives in the last 2 years. I know it's not your duty to talk about to highlight the positives of the administration, but just being fair.
You know, the budget 2025 is already padded to the tune of about 7 trillion naira. One street light will cost Nigerians 200 and something million naira. One pole of street light, one borehole will cost them almost 200 million naira. What good can come out of such a government? How many people have been held accountable for the security situation in Nigeria? What good can come from such a government? What is their defense? I can't sit down here, like I told you. If you start praising this government, there's no way you will not appear like a fool. I can't sit down here and make a fool of myself. Because you journalists, if I praise this government now, you give me a returning and a cross-examination. And I will not have anything to answer. When you are padding the budget with 7 trillion naira, you are borrowing money to students who want to go to school. Like I said, security and welfare. I wish, I'm not a member of any political party now. If there is any reason this government has given me to praise them, I would have praised them. Look at India appointments. Appointing only Yoruba people, his own people, not even only Yoruba, the Lagos axis. You know, the Lagos Alaye inspired axis of his proteges. Look at it. Whether you say the Chief Justice of Nigeria, whether you say the Attorney General of the Federation, whether you say Minister of Finance, Central Bank Governor, whether you say every notable thing, whether you say Inspector General of Police, Chief of Army Staff, whether you say insecurity in economy, what do I say? He chose a fellow Muslim for a same-faith ticket, not recognizing our diversity. Section 15, 3D of the Constitution. He said every association must cut across religious and ethnic barriers. This government, apart from religion and ethnicity, I don't know his basis of appointment. All his appointees performing in an F form, especially those ones that are from his place, and he's not doing anything about them. What will I praise? I wish I have anything to praise, and I will be here singing the praises. Remember, I was a member of that political party. So tell me yourself, give me by practical data, empirical facts, the things this government have achieved, and I will interrogate it, and I would say I concede that to you. But there is nothing to be praised. Like I said, I can't stand on the blood and the graves of the innocent Nigerians that are massacred nationwide to begin to praise a government for what? For giving me tears and blood? So that is the issue. For the first time in 2 years of any government, there is nothing to praise about. I said in Nigeria, you have more malnourished children than in Sudan, a war-torn country. So we are actually like people living in a war-torn country without wars. Look at in Northeast, our soldiers being massacred in something that you know existed before coming in. You're removing resources from there to take it to another place. Yet you found it necessary to spend 150 billion naira for your presidential jet when you came in. So the issue here is I wish there is anything to praise. I have none. But you can help me, and I will concede to you. But by the empirical facts, this government has achieved nothing, in my own opinion, and the only thing they deserve is to be taken out.
Mr. Konko, I must say that our interest was to look at having a lengthy discussion, not just about the current administration, but also to look at the crisis within the Labour Party and, of course, the road to 2027, plus your incisive thoughts on some of the matters affecting the nation, which you have started touching on. But it's unfortunate that we do have a special broadcast that we must move on to. So we want to use this medium to please ask if you can grant us another time so that we can have this interview, this time on a lengthy hour, so that we can really discuss some of the issues concerning Nigeria. But however, if you grant us that time, we'll make it happen ASAP as soon as possible. But we want to say thank you so much, please. And we look forward to hear from you as soon as possible. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, fortunately, time is not our friend, and due to some technical challenges there, we couldn't have, we couldn't start that interview on a very quick note. But this is where we wrap up the show for today.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, tomorrow's another day. Make sure you join us. I'm Joe Hansen.
And I'm Eid-El-Kabir.
And I am Oliver Modi. As I wrap up, I want to say happy birthday to our mommy, Felicia Oliko. Happy 70th. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.